Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you all for showing up. It means a lot. I know that things are difficult out there, especially traffic, but always appreciate it when you guys can come out. I'm VJ, the organizer for JavaScriptLA. Thank you again for coming. I'm not going to do a long, lengthy intro because I think you guys already know. So I'm just going to get right to it with Justin. And let's give him a big hand for today's topic.
Thank you, VJ.
Right, thank you.
All right, I'm going to get started. So thanks for everyone coming out. And who's heard of Subresource Integrity? Anyone?
Oh, what?
I don't. Screw you, man. So I'm going to have a few more shirts I'm going to throw up. So the first time it goes up, you get a shirt. Okay. So tonight, where's my fucking clicker? Gotta get my clicker, sorry. Tonight we're going to be talking about web application security with Subresource Integrity. My name is Justin Dorfman. I work here at MaxCDN. I work in developer relations and open source outreach. I'm also obsessed with open source and standards, and an SRI advocate. And as you can see, I'm very famous with one retweet and one like for this tweet. So you were talking to the SRI advocate, so you should feel really lucky. Let's define integrity. Who here can define integrity? Raise your hand. No one? Aha! Sir!
You say you are who you are.
I like it. And if it doesn't fit, we'll get you another side. Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. I'm a visual guy, though. This is integrity to me. This is just really simple, you know. 2 plus 2 equals 4, right? But if someone tells you 5, that's wrong. But this guy has integrity. He's willing to take a bullet for it. Subresource integrity enables browsers to verify files are delivered without unexpected manipulation. What is subresource integrity? It's this thing. It's this integrity attribute in the script tag entity. And as you can see, it's a SHA hash. And I'm going to show you in the next slides how to generate that, and you can secure your users. But first, we're going to go in a demo with and without subresource integrity. Does this look good or bad? Like, would you install that in your site? Why? It says no malware here.php. It's not that big a deal, right? Well, it is a big deal because if it goes into a JavaScript file, and then luckily your browser has SRI enabled and someone has the integrity attribute in there, this green check mark will tell you that the resource has been blocked. So has it been downloaded? Yes. Has it been executed? No. What about this? This looks legit. Actually, it's not. It's a DDoS script. It's a little JavaScript function that is also going to go into a JavaScript file. And now you have a JavaScript DDoS layer 7 attack. Holy shit. History. Let's go over a little history, shall we? So who's heard of the W3C? Awesome. Well, now I don't know who raised their hand first, so you all get a sticker after this. So W3C, the World Wide Web Consortium, has a web application security working group. And Dropbox, Mozilla, and Google all came together, just a couple engineers there, and said, we need to create something to stop these types of attacks happening. So obviously Mozilla and Google have an interest because why? They both make very popular browsers. Dropbox, the only reason he's in there is because he used to work at Mozilla, so he was like leaving Mozilla and he's like, oh shit, I gotta finish this spec, so that's why Dropbox is in there. A little behind the scenes. In January 8th, discussions started on GitHub. And two months later, the first working draft was published at w3c.org. In October, the final working draft was published. And November of last year, the W3C candidate recommendation was published to W3C. Now, what does that mean? There's 4 steps that you do to get something a specification on, validated by the W3C. So you got the working draft, the candidate recommendation, the proposed recommendation, and finally the recommendation. So right now we're at CR. I've talked to Frederick Braun, who is one of the authors of SRI. He works at Mozilla, and he told me in a couple of months it will hit proposed recommendation and eventually go to recommendation. Support and availability. What good is it if not everything supports it? What's great is protocol support is dialed. H1, H2, Speedy, TLS, and SSL, all good. Who uses H1? Everyone. Who uses H2? No one. No, just kidding. File support, CSS and JavaScript. They got the low-hanging fruit first. Image, Flash, and video, no support yet, but they're not ruling it out. Most attacks happen in a JavaScript file. Right, David Archibald? Yes. Our security czar here at the building. So the low-hanging fruit was CSS and JavaScript, so they got that. Now, browsers. 3 out of the 5 majors support it. The other 2, one's considering it and one hasn't even made a statement on it. I will give it to Microsoft Edge, though. They are considering it. There's over 1,000 votes on one of their developer portals. And also, I'm sorry, if you can't see that, it says Subresource Integrity under consideration on their, basically their status site for features to Edge. Mobile browser support, while this might look good, 4 little check marks. Who has an iPhone? Raise your hand. Okay, so you probably have Chrome on there, right? And you're like, well, I have Chrome, so it's going to work. Actually, it's not, because on iOS, you're shaking your head. Why is it?
Because it decorates the same engine.
Exactly. You can't bring Blink or any rendering engine over to iOS. You have to use WebKit, whether it's a new browser or in-app browsing. So while Chrome's on there, it's still using WebKit, which sucks. Let's get our hands dirty. We can create some hashes. So the hashing functions, they use the SHA-2 family, the secure hashing algorithm. 256, 384, and 512 are the variations that you can use. MD5 and SHA-1, absolutely not. Will not even be considered. Not just because they're insecure, it's because there's a lot more file collisions. Isn't that right, David? Yes. Who here works in a Unix-like environment where you can use OpenSSL on a command line? Raise your hand. Okay. So what you can do is you can take this one-liner, which will be in a slide deck at the end. I'll give the link out. And you can use this to create your SHA hashes. You can also curl and pipe it to that one-liner. These are my favorite. I love srihash.org. You can put in a CSS or a JavaScript URL, and it'll automatically create the HTML code you need with the integrity hash and the cross origin and link. Yes. And then SRI hash reporturi.org or .io, apologize. They also have one. It's pretty much the same thing, except they use a 256 variation on the SHA hash. Who uses any of these build tools? Raise your hand. Okay, I really want to know. Who uses Grunt? Okay, awesome. Webpack. Interesting. Gulp. Ah, okay. I honestly thought Grunt would win. Gulp would win. Broccoli? You really? You asshole. You silly goose. Handlebars. Okay, so it looks like Grunt wins. Out of here! Just joking. Okay, we need to write that down. JSPM. Okay, thank you. So,
All the stickers. I win all the stickers.
okay, So interesting that everyone, not everyone, but Grunt won is because code.jQuery, we just launched, our company provides the content delivery network for them, and they use grunt-sri to generate the hashes. And it's really cool that people still use Grunt because I think it's great. Who uses JS Deliver? Anyone? Anyone know what it is? Oh, shit. Well, if you use JS Deliver, you can enable SRI. Boop. Bootstrap CDN, anyone? Awesome. Wow, Rob, you use it?
I do.
Wow, cool, man.
On my personal website.
Awesome. Use SRI, bro. Okay, so with Bootstrap CDN, you can use it. And code.jquery.com, who's been at this site anywhere? So as of Friday, any JavaScript link you click, whether it's minified or uncompressed, you will get this modal with the integrity hash built in. It was an 8-month project that finally got done, and I crossed off my list, and I can go to sleep a lot better. Here's the point. Bottom line, there's no more fucking excuses. You better use SRI or I will get you. No, you got to use it. You got to protect your users because if you don't use it, your users are at risk. With that said, once you put it on, once you start supporting it in your projects, email me the logo, your logo. I'll put it up here because I'm going to give this speech like one more time. And then, yeah. Are there any questions? Sorry I went so fast. I'm just very nervous. I know there's questions. Yes, sir.
Kind of off topic. Will Edge ever be available for the OS, Mac OS platform?
That's a good question. And what the question was, will Microsoft Edge ever be available for Mac?
Is that for me, or?
Yes. It's hard to say. You know, the way Microsoft's going, I believe so. I mean, you know, they're bringing their developer tools over to not just Mac, but Linux platforms. I think in order to win, they know that cross-platform support is needed in all their projects. So I have zero insight into what they're doing there, but the way I see they're contributing to the open source community as well as just bringing their tools to other platforms, whether it's Android, Linux, Mac. I think sooner or later, once Chrome kicks their ass, which they are, but kick their ass even more, they're going to have to. It's just not even a choice. Was that good?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Is there any plan for SRI support with basically AJAX requests or XHTTP requests?
That's a great question. So what basically what SRI does is all it's doing is taking a hash of the file, the static file. Because if it's dynamic, it doesn't make sense. So like if you're going to have Google Analytics or anything like that, it's not going to work because Google Analytics, they change the code constantly. That's why they don't version the URI. So you can use it with AJAX as long as you update. You can use it with AJAX calls, but it's primarily for the file being downloaded in a script or link entity tag. I have stickers here for everyone at the end. Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I understand a little bit better. The hash is being generated for the front-end code. Nothing's being done on the CDN or the file delivery side, right?
Correct.
But the browser downloads the asset, generates the hash, and compares it to what's in the meta.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a great question. And point. The URL is not part of the hash. It's only the file itself. So even though, you know, when you hit curl, all it's doing is downloading the file and then taking that hash of the file, not part of the URI at all, or URL. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, cool.
One of the things I did
Yeah.
notice in the I guess it's the CR.
Yep.
Canada recommendation. There's the ability to specify two hashes for the same resource.
Yep.
With the same
hashing algorithm. So 2 SHA-256.
You can actually put 3. So
3.
remember where it was 256, 384, and 512?
Right.
You can put all 3 in there. And it's up to the user agent to decide which hash it wants
I
to
get
use.
that. That
Oh,
makes
got it,
total
sorry.
sense. But this one is where there's 2 SHA-256s.
Huh.
And it talks about, like, the browser can validate either one.
Yeah. That's interesting. I honestly think that's like a typo.
Okay.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I'll definitely bring it to them. And yeah, but from what Jonathan Kingston told me, who works at Mozilla and really has been such a, I mean, he's the SRI advocate.
Okay.
I'm just pretending I am. He basically said, you can do all 3. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the point? And he's like, well, it's up to the user agent to decide, hey, I'm going to go with 512 because we can, this computer is fast enough to, you know, compute it. So
That makes total sense, like choosing the optimal
right.
algorithm for whatever the user agent wants to do with it.
I do see the trend being 384, like that, the happy medium.
Just because of hashing speed?
The tests that have been run and they're not public, we're talking like under a millisecond to with today's computers and phones. I mean, the phones are more powerful than the computers we were when we were playing Wolfenstein and stuff like that. So,
What about the bytes over the wire, though?
the bytes over the wire, that's I'm really glad you brought that up. So you can still gzip. Gzipping's fine. All it matters is at the end after the compression. So when the browser, you know, deflates, it's not doing anything pre-deflate. It's after deflate. And yeah, because at first that's what my feeling was. I was like, so wait, we have to not use gzip? And he's like, no. Let me tell you something, son. So it's a great question because I felt the same way. Because basically what happened was I run Bootstrap CDN and he opened up a ticket. He's like, you should get SRI on here. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like, and I looked him up. I was like, oh shit. So I brought it offline to email, and I was like, all these concerns because 2 million people have this installed on their site. You know, making a decision like this is not easy. And so I basically asked him, I'm like, yeah, that same question. Like, what about gzip? He was like, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, well, you know, because I'm not going to undo gzip. I mean, it's like the web performance is not really worth it to me on a scale. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can you go through a sample
Of
using it?
sure. There we go. So this slide basically shows what happens when the hash is not correct. So as you can see right here, what it says is fail to find a valid digest integrity attribute for the file with computed SHA-256 integrity. What's that thing called? Hash. And the resource has been blocked. So what I did here was I basically just went into the HTML and I changed the hash. I removed like a character. And then Chrome basically brought this error out into the developer console. I'm really against doing live demos because they never go well. So I apologize that I'm a little shy. What else? Keep them coming. I've been practicing forever.
What are
Seek
some
yours?
of the attack vectors? Like, how does the file get compromised in the first place?
That's a great question. So in the past, this actually happened to us. It was really unfortunate. So someone changed the origin URL in the content in the CDN preferences, and basically it was polling from another server with all the same files, but all the same files had an injection into them. And basically what it did was it installed anyone running XP Windows 7. This was 3 years ago. Or XP Internet Explorer 7, it would basically install a Java application that would just own it. and turn it into a bot.
So,
So not a lot of people were affected, but still it made us go, wow. And then ever since then, I was just like, dude, we need something. And this came along, and I was like, okay, here it is. So that's why I'm here.
so for this to be effective, the front end has to be completely decoupled from the CDN. In
Well,
other words, the origin server needs to be separate from the front end code base that has the hashes.
Right. The whole thing with SRI is basically to allow you, the web developer, to be able to use third-party sources, whether they're Google, whether they're what other company. All companies can get hacked. We've seen it over and over and over again. Is Google going to get hacked? Probably not. But what if they do? And you're using ajax.google.com. This basically gives you a safety net saying, hey, I have this installed. 3 out of the 5 major browsers are using it, so I need to protect my users. That's basically what's happening.
So, I mean, this sounds like it would also make sense for companies like Braintree or Squeedly who are doing credit card, like JavaScriptLA or credit card.
Yeah, and
processing
I agree, but the problem with those types of companies, they don't version their URIs. So everyone gets the same URI, and if they update that file, then you got yourself a non-working site. So hopefully down the line they'll start versioning, but their fear is people will set it and forget it. So they'll be running 5-year-old Google Analytics code or Braintree.js code, and yeah, that's hopefully it will happen, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Anyone else? All right. Thank you for coming. And I know like traffic's a bitch especially on weekdays. So thank you so much. If you want, you can read more about SRI at j.mp/MaxCDN-SRI. Twitter and GitHub. I will be posting the slides there. And VJ, thanks so much for having me.